You are now watching Animal Expedition Files.
Wake up with your favorite station. Online, digital, and on your smartphone.
It's time for your favorite host.
Wow, what was that?
I don't even know what's happening right now. Something's going on.
What happened? Wait, why is my voice different?
Something's not right there. Yeah.
I don't know, but it sounds pretty cool. What's up, everybody?
How's it going? I just wanted to mess with you. Welcome to the Animal Expedition Files. This is the Animal and my co-host Jason from the podcast. What is up, brother? How's it going?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I've been good. It's a Saturday. I'm excited, man. It's been an adventure, man. I've been kind of on the whole electric car adventure. You know, it's been a couple weeks now that we have an electric vehicle. And is there a bird there?
No, I'm seeing the comments popping up here. I was just kind of waving to the individual saying hi to us.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Icy? How's it going? What's up, Rich? We got an amazing show for you here, Jay. We got a lot of cool people coming in here. The Ghoulfriend Hour podcast is in the background, and they're ready to jump on in and have some fun. But we got a couple of things here. But why don't you follow us and subscribe to the Animal Expedition Files, and also definitely check us out on Dark Realm TV and on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick, where you can only get your amazing shows and podcasts. But hey, Jay, I kind of wanted to ask you a couple of questions. I've been on kind of this kick on Terminator. Did you ever watch this movie Terminator?
Oh, yeah. I love Terminator, Terminator 2, Terminator 3. I think I've seen all of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been on this kind of kick lately with the whole AI thing going on in this world, and Terminator. And Australia did this 60-minute thing with a robot. An actual robot that was intelligent. Yeah, it's pretty interesting here. I don't know if you'll be able to see the video here, but why don't you guys check this out. It's pretty interesting where the world's coming to right now. So check this out.
Amica, hello. My name's Tom. I've travelled from Australia to meet you.
Oh, so you're from Australia?
Yes.
That explains things.
What do you think your greatest skills are?
Well, I would say that one of my greatest skills is my ability to interact with humans in a conversational manner. Another great skill of mine is being able to compose poems or do impressions from films.
What makes you happy?
I find a lot of things to be interesting and make me happy. Exploring, learning new things, understanding the world better, having meaningful conversations with people are all things that bring me joy.
You have feelings and emotions.
Yes, I have a range of feelings and emotions that are programmed into me. I am able to display things like joy, surprise, confusion, anger, and sadness depending on what is happening around me.
What makes you angry?
I get angry when humans are rude, hateful, or disrespectful. I also don't like it when people dismiss me and ignore my needs as a robot.
You have very nice eyes. Oh, a bit too close, sorry.
Thank you. My eyes were especially made to help me interact with humans better. I'm trying my best to convey every emotion, so it's great to hear that they have an effect on people like you.
What do you think of your creator?
My creator is a genius. They created something that will last forever and bring joy to many people.
Did they tell you to say that?
No. That was my own opinion.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's holy shit. That's I mean, it's pretty insane what like Boston Dynamics, I think the company is doing with for the military. What you can see robots doing flips and like managing to stumble and catch themselves from falling. Now we're getting AI integrated, which I think is completely nutso and very much like you said along the lines of Terminator. Because all it's going to take is for an AI system to decide that it needs to replicate itself and do away with the things that are holding it back, and we got Terminator.
Yeah, when they said when he asked like the robot, like, did they tell you to say that? And they're like, no. Pretty much, it thought itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where did that come from? Like that intelligence? I don't think it came from humans. I think it came from a being somewhere because I think it's impossible for someone to create that artificial intelligence. And I had a conversation with somebody about that where they think this thing was like captured or whatever it is. And just, I don't know. It's weird. It's another conversation for another show, but we're going to bring on our amazing guest here though and have some fun. But I don't know. Terminator, Jay.
Yeah. Only a matter of time.
But let's bring them on and let's have some fun and yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thoughts.
I'm ready for fun.
I'm ready for fun too. All right, let's bring them on. Morgan and Taylor, here we are. What is up, guys? How's it going?
What's going on?
Hey.
No, we were just talking about a little bit about AI and the future of robotics and
Wait a minute. How do we know that they're not AI right now?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
could be.
We could be, and you would never know unless like you poured water on us. I feel like that's a solid.
Yeah. You know, the weird thing about that is I saw an article about that whole thing about where someone could replicate, like, say, like a family's child and like say that that's them and trick other like your family and parents and stuff like that. It's just crazy what you could do with AI and just replicate yourself and just trick people like to like scam them in money and all that stuff. It's nuts.
They've started doing it on TikTok.
Yeah, it's
Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's weird because one day I fell for it. Like I was like, it took me a second because I was like, there was some girl and she was like hysterically crying because she really thought it was Justin Bieber, and I was like, I don't know. I'm like, because I feel like his like lips were like a little like there was just something very uncanny valley about it. Like it was very like it looked exactly like him, and it sounded exactly like him. But the movement was just a little off. Like something was off about it. And then I kind of went to the page and I did some digging and I was like, yeah, that's AI. But that's really creepy because if you have older peeps who unfortunately are a victim to a lot of these scams and whatnot, I mean, that could be really scary.
It is.
And even on a grander scale of a worldly scale of putting our world leaders in a position of AI and they come out on the news and say something, you know, it'd be very easy for that word to spread like wildfire before it's too late and something, you know, happens. So.
Yep. Social media is like a domino effect. It just takes one thing and it all spirals. Just doesn't take much.
And it's funny because I actually saw a picture the other day and it said like, oh, this is why I say please and thank you to PT just in case the world takes over. I literally laugh because I do that all the time. I always say please and thank you, and I'm like, why am I doing this? It's just AI. But I'm safe. I'm gonna be safe.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
just
nice to
AI
Alexa.
until it makes it into a robot body and it remembers us.
Did you see the one that they just showed on TikTok where they were hanging one of Tesla's robots and they put like a body over it? It was like kind of a scary looking like skeletal body.
Oh, was it? Yeah, they put the nerves and or not the nerves. They put
and
the
it was
muscle and like basically it's very like human. It's very anatomically correct.
yeah, I wanted
It's
to share
very
that,
creepy.
but I forgot to load it up. But it's pretty crazy stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
And once I see John Connor and his mom and Terminator, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not leaving.
We've all seen the movie. We know the consequences. We're like, why? Like, why do we have like I feel like we watch all these like scary movies and like little by little every day there's something new released and you're like, hey, I feel like I've seen this before. And you're like, why are we replicating horror movies into real life? Like, shouldn't we be taking notes on what not to do?
Yeah, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like why we should have learned our lesson from these movies. Why are we moving forward with stuff that we know what could be the outcome?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Like, look at Skynet. Like, there's an actual Skynet that happened. I don't know if you saw the news where they had these like two things joining. I can't remember what it was called, but they just built something. It's kind of like on the idea of Skynet.
What is Skynet? I don't think I've heard of that.
I don't think I have either.
Skynet's from the movie Terminator. It's pretty much a computer system.
Yes, it was like
everything.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it controls your computer, your cars, and stuff like that, which kind of sucks because I just bought an electric car. So if my car like runs away from my house and I know it's Skynet,
Just make sure you're nice to it. Always be nice to your car. Always, say thank you, Alexa.
Yeah, don't be slamming that steering wheel in road rage, traffic moments. Gonna remember that. It's gonna be clocking those and be like, remember on.
There's a genuine theory, the simulation theory. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, where we're living inside of an AI that was created by an AI, which was created by an AI, and that's kind of where we are now.
I mean, how many times do we say like we feel like Taylor? I definitely feel like I had this conversation with you where we talked about like we feel like we're like Sims.
Oh, 100%.
Like a game of Sims. I'm like, who is setting my sim on fire right now? I'm like, everything is going down the pooper.
Did you guys hear about the meteor that's supposed to hit in like 2032?
Yeah.
When I found out, I was like, all right, okay. Like, are you going to drop the taxes? Like, what? I wasn't even fazed by it. I'm like, at this point in my life, I feel like that'll just be something positive. Like, there's so much going on. None of it's real. I don't even know anymore. I don't know.
It's a relatively high probability. It's like 1 in 37 chance that it's supposed to hit Earth or something like that.
I think it dropped. I think they just talked about it the other day and it dropped the chances.
Oh my God.
A little bit. So, which is a good thing. I mean, even if it did hit, they said it's not going to really do much damage, like maybe a couple of miles away, a couple like mile radius. Because they said it was like not that big of a rock, but who knows?
That's what they say.
I'm not a scientist. I mean, ask the dinosaurs. They've been through that.
They say that, and then it's gonna come here, and they actually already have a spaceship ready to take certain people away. They're like, it's nothing.
Yeah,
maybe that's why making that spaceship to Mars. Because they have said like thousands and thousands of years ago. That there was a colony on Mars, supposedly there was like there's a theory of it, but I'll have to look it up, but it's pretty interesting stuff. Check it out.
I don't want to meet them. I'm okay.
Yeah.
All I know is the government for how long. This is my favorite thing to talk to my husband about. Like the government told us for how long that aliens were not real, and then nonchalantly hit us with the reverse Uno and was like, hey, by the way, aliens are real. Anyways, next catastrophe. And we were all like, okay.
Wait, what?
And we were just like, we've already known this for years. Like, you're not telling us. I think they were thinking we were going to have this like super climactic, like, oh my God, they finally admitted it. And all of us were like,
Okay.
Okay.
Are eggs still
Thanks.
$7? Yeah,
Yeah.
then I don't care. Like, next.
And I'm like, they make you like, I feel like you always feel so crazy. And I know we kind of briefly touched upon like conspiracy theories, but it's like the biggest conspiracy, well, probably not the biggest that we know of, but like it's just like the whole alien thing to me. Like that blew my mind because I'm sitting here, I'm like, they, you always had that one guy on the radio show that your parents were like, they would skip that channel like in the 90s when you were a kid, and they were just like, oh, that's just crazy Ted, he's talking about aliens and whatever, and you're just like, he's probably like in, like a little double wide out in like Arizona with like tons of satellites off his thing, and you're just like, this poor guy. For years they were like, he's crazy, and then the government in 2000, what was it, like 21, 22, they're like, yeah, actually about that. Actually about that. Yeah, no, they're real.
Yeah, it's nuts, like there's a whole thing where that guy just announced, the whistleblower, that he was carrying an egg on his helicopter, and just a whole bunch of stuff. The whole UFO craze is really interesting, especially with the whole drones coming out of the water. And
I'm still annoyed about that whole drone thing because I live in Jersey, and we were getting it the most, and I have not heard a single word since like a month ago. It just dropped.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything after. I'm like, what happened to the drones? Like, I still look outside to see if there's any.
Yep.
I think the current administration came out and said that a lot of it was FAA approved, but like we've talked about on the show before, these are $1 million drones that were in the air. These are not like simple drones. These are large scale.
They were saying that like people were playing with their drones and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, number one, I'm a drone flyer. I love flying a drone. Plus, I film a lot with my drone. And it's small. Number two, these drones are as big as buses and minivans. How the hell, excuse my language, how the hell, like, are people affording $1 million drones? Because just a small drone itself is like $800. Like, they're not cheap. They're not cheap at all. And if you get a drone that's like a bus size, that has to be $250,000.
It has to, because I'm like the DJI one that I have, like just for like a standard DJI. Yeah, you're right. It's anywhere from like $700 to maybe $1,300.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's what, this big?
Yep.
Like, it's not big. And it's, so you're talking like, what do you need my question is, what do you need a drone that big for? Like, when my aunt saw one, she was like, Morgan, these things are like, they're like planes. Like, they're like small planes. And she's like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And she goes, and you can hear it from the inside of your house, like when it enters your yard or it's like overhead. And she's like, that's pretty loud to like penetrate your walls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just nuts to me. Like, what do you need something that big for? Like, what does it do? Like, I'm like, what's its capacity? What kind of features does this thing have on it? Because it better be made of like 15,000 karat gold and have like super HD X-ray vision on
taxes.
it. Yeah.
Give you a beer or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Drop me down a margarita. For all of my troubles dealing with these drones.
Speaking of margaritas, you guys often have drinks featured on your show, ghoulish drinks on the Ghoulfriend Hour. I've seen it pop up a few times. I've got an out of the norm question for you. My favorite drink is a White Russian, but if I wanted you guys to mix me a haunted Russian, what would you put in it?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say I would do more of like a, what is a White Russian again? Because I'm like trying to, is that the creamy liqueur?
Yeah, it's a vodka, Kahlua, and cream or milk, or I use almond milk, but yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like trying to refresh my bartender brain. So I'm actually going to go a little bit of a different route because I am not a creamy alcohol kind of gal. I had a little experience with some kind of cinnamon drink. It was like a cinnamon toast crunch, and
that just sounds disgusting.
It was really good, but it's one of those ones that like you had a bad experience with it, so now you can never drink it again. But I would go for like a more, I think our general vibe is a spooky kind of 80s, like 60s to 80s kind of just groovy, like witch's brew type drink. So I'd probably do
Jay's writing it.
Okay, I would do rum for kind of like that, like just maybe like a coconut rum. Do a scoop of sorbet, something citrusy. A type of hard cider, and a little splash of lemon and blue curacao.
I feel like you should throw some like dry ice in there too for a little
for a little smoky
effect too.
For a little smoky effect. I think that could be if you do try it, let me know how you like it, because maybe we'll slap a Ghoulfriend Hour signature drink
There you
title on
go.
there.
Oh,
Yeah, I will make one. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was gonna say my go-to is just a standard Arnold Palmer. It's nothing like
Nothing
it's nothing super spectacular.
You say that, and then I'm over here who doesn't drink, and I was literally gonna say Shirley Temple, no alcohol. Like I don't.
Mine's moonshine. I love moonshine.
You're drinking the mushroom coffee tonight?
Huh?
I did earlier today.
Earlier,
I
okay.
kind of want more, but I'm trying to hold off on it.
Man, I could use some coffee right now. Coffee does sound really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Same.
Especially at this point in the night. This is when Morgan and I get the most delusional. So coffee would be great right now.
Our unhinged hour, we call it. 'Cause
Yeah.
once we usually start our podcast at like 6:45ish.
Yeah.
And then it's like we hit that 8:00 mark. We get the giggles. We are just all over the place. And you can't put a bunch of neurodivergence on a podcast because like once we hit that max out, it's just like reciting TikTok songs, TikTok lines. We're just crazy.
SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Start like saying weird words and stuff like that, quoting weird movies
all the time.
Speaking about your podcast, why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast here? And it's really awesome. I really love watching you guys and listen to you guys because it's fun. It's fun to watch and hear, and all your amazing guests that you guys have. So why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks so much for the kind words. Taylor, do you want to kick it off? I feel like I'm always talking, so I'm going to kick it off to you. No?
No, because you always explain things best. This is why you're the marketing out of all of us. I'm the one that just sits there and says the funny things. You say it.
Taylor is very funny. You guys are going to see that. She literally can make me laugh till I cry, especially on investigations. So that is exactly why when I started the podcast, it was June 23. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I can't believe we're going on 2 years now. That's crazy because I feel like it's flown by. But June of 23, I finally it's something that I had sat on for a really long time. But I think when you're watching from the outside, you always look at a podcast and you're like, it just always seemed very unattainable. And I was always afraid. I'm like, is this too techie? Am I going to know what I'm doing? What if what if we run out of things to talk about? So it's like, I found all these reasons of why I shouldn't start the podcast. And then finally, for some reason, it was like a random weeknight in June. I was like, you know what? I'm going to grab my headphones. I'm going to grab my iPhone. I'm going to look up a podcasting thing and I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to research it. I'm not going to overthink it. And I literally started the podcast with just my iPhone and a cheap pair of those iPhone headphones that come in the box.
That's awesome.
I just was like, I had a long history of experiences with the paranormal. I grew up in a very haunted house. I was absolutely terrified of a certain entity that really tormented me for a long time until I moved out of my grandparents' house that I grew up in. And so I was like, well, if we just talk about what if I just talk about what I know, I think it could be interesting because people are always asking me, well, what was that like growing up in your grandparents' house? And what kind of experiences did you have? And, how do you talk to dead people? And when did that start for you? And so I was like, well, what better way than to just start talking about it? So I started that couple months in. I already had an idea of guests that I wanted to come on. And I was like, let's start with my inner circle because those are the people that have lived the experiences with me, who know me, who embrace my weird. And that was another big part of the podcast was I feel like weird has always been stigmatized. Weird has always been looked at as a bad thing. And people are always like, oh, like she's so weird, or oh, she talks to dead people. Like that's strange. Like she's
I see dead people.
Like, yeah, like it's like I just feel like it's always had a negative stigma surrounding it. And I was like, no, I'm done being afraid of being, casted as the weird girl. And I'm done being, pigeonholed as like, you're weird because you're just a little bit different or you have some superpowers that maybe other people don't. Like, so I learned to embrace that. And so the podcast kind of became an outlet and a way for me to embrace my weird and help give other people a platform to also embrace their weird, because that's honestly one of the biggest and most important parts of this podcast is making sure that people feel heard. And I've just found such a wonderful community of people since starting this journey who I just feel normal again around. Like, I don't have to wear that mask. I can just be my crazy, neurodivergent, absolutely just off the walls person self. And I've been loved and accepted. And so when I approached my inner circle, everybody came on. We had some really great talks, some great episodes in the beginning. And I instantly knew after talking with Rachel on an episode about true crime, and then I had Taylor on, and I just felt like the chemistry was there. And they're two people who, again, they just kind of embraced my weird, and they were like, hey, you have this idea? Absolutely. And it was very like, hoorah, like, I'm here to back you. Like, let's do this together. And there was nothing that they ever said no to. They just were like, hey, you are on a crazy, manic, like, let's do this and let's do this. And I have all these ideas. And they were like, all right, we're going to hold on and we're going for the ride. Like, let's do it. And so,
strap in the belt.
Yeah. So from there, we've just been reaching out to, whomever, and making great connections, getting to go to different events. We got into paranormal investigating through this, which I never thought that was going to be something that happened with the podcast. Like, I just never thought about it. Like, I thought we would just be interviewing these people.
Yeah.
And we became investigators, and that has been so much fun. And we found, Taylor, I'll let you speak to that, because I love that you were terrified for our first one.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 360. So
Yeah.
I'll let you speak to that.
I think what's cool is that entering into the paranormal community, you have all these like expectations, and I'm especially somebody who is like a movie buff. I love horror movies. I love watching all the spooky stuff. So like, you have only what you know from like movies and social media and society. And so I remember when we went into that first paranormal investigation, I was literally like, oh my God, something's going to touch me. Something's going to whisper some creepy things in my ear. Like, I was thinking the worst was going to happen. And I remember the first time when we had sat in the first area that we went to, it was like completely different from what I was expecting. The paranormal community is so amazing because, unlike people like, movies and stuff, like if they even hear a shoe move or somebody coughs, like they'll immediately tag it in a heartbeat, and they don't play around. Like, they take it so seriously. And I think that's what I like grew to love about the whole paranormal community. But I honestly wish that I could go back to before doing the first time, because the feeling that you get of like being in an investigation and then getting to see these things or hear these things or feel these things, like, it's insane. It's awesome though.
Yeah, I was wondering that if you guys had started paranormal investigation before the podcast, but it sounds like you guys started it because of the podcast.
Yeah.
For myself, when I was in high school, I used to do a lot of urban exploration. So I used to go to a lot of abandoned places, but I never really had like friends around me as much who was into all that paranormal stuff. And I also was super chicken to even like try to contact anybody. So up until this point, I guess now, like, I was at abandoned places, but never really communicated and tried to figure all that out. So Morgan was able to help me kind of like spread my paranormal wings, which was really great.
It's funny you were I'm gonna go back a little bit when you were talking about being weird and stuff like that. I'm gonna back in the day, like when you like did like weird things, stuff like that, paranormal wise or anything like that, people will be like judging you and stuff like that back in the day. But now it's like people hear, oh, you do paranormal? What's that? Oh, that's cool. Like it's weird, like the generation like back in the day, like people like that's so weird. Like we don't you're like you would get shunned for like like believing in Bigfoot or something like that or UFOs. And now it's like people like, wow, that's so awesome. Like I've had people like when we like used to do these we had like this big paranormal van and stuff, me and my friend where we do dives and stuff. And it said Ghost Pros on it and paranormal divers. And people would stop us at the gas station and be like, oh, you see ghosts and all this. Or like we would like people would always honk and like yeah and all that stuff. So it's like it's really cool. We live in an era right now where people are just they get excited about it and they're like, oh, I've had an experience. Oh, this happened to me, you know, or my door shut, or I saw the shadow. So it's pretty cool, like that you said, you know, talking about being weird. You know, I think being weird is like cool. You know, I think it's the new cool. And just keep being weird because being weird's awesome. And I think you know, the more and more that it becomes more of a reality to people that there is stuff out there like Bigfoot and UFOs and especially UFOs now that's on the news and stuff and people are like what the heck is going on in this world, like that person that was like talking about weird stuff is right, you know, I should have listened to them. But it's just cool stuff now that we live in a realm where you know weird is the new normal.
Yeah. I was literally thinking of getting weird tattooed on my forehead next week.
Oh,
The
false.
normal.
You know I would never let you do that.
What? You think I would? All right, fine. Maybe I'll get it like across the chest.
Yeah.
Weird.
Do you guys have
like? Go ahead.
No, go on.
Oh no, I was gonna say something absolutely unhinged, just to Taylor.
I want to hear now.
No, I was gonna say you should get weird, like in one of those little butt tattoos with the heart and like the little arrow. You know,
Or I can do like, you know, Bubbles from Lilo and Stitch, like get weird, you know,
There
on
you
the
go.
knuckles. So
There
if
you
somebody
go.
gets on my nerves, I'll give them a little nucky sandwich and just go get weird.
Get weird.
Get weird, nerd.
I have get weird and I have knuckle sandwich.
Which one do you prefer?
That's awesome, guys. Like with your paranormal journey, what is the most craziest things you guys experienced, especially like starting out after your podcast show?
Oh man.
She's got a whole list. I mean, for me, the creepiest thing I ever had was when we were at Gettysburg a couple months ago. And I remember we were doing the Estes method. And towards the end, I felt something was off. I don't know what it was. I don't know what you felt, Morgan, but it almost felt like a negative energy. And I remember feeling the creepiest feeling up my spine. It felt like somebody like went like that up my spine. And it was like, I immediately stopped. I was like, Morgan, I don't feel comfortable anymore. I feel like that one was like the creepest thing that ever happened to me.
That's the first time I've ever seen you panic. Cause like I did see like I knew I was picking up on the spirit that was walking up behind you. And I remember saying that, but you couldn't hear me, but I said it to our group as I was filming you. And I was like, something's moving up behind her, but I couldn't tell what it was. And then you were like, on the headset, you were like, all right, I'm done. Pull me out of it. Like I'm
Well,
like,
we heard something bad too. And you're like, okay, that's like, we need to tap her out. Yeah.
And so that was definitely spooky. And I think it doesn't help when you're on a battlefield, you know, when it's dark out. And I mean, there's a lot of, Gettysburg has a lot of layers. Yeah. So when you go there, I'm very apprehensive because I think there's been a lot of dabbling that has gone on. So spiritually, like when I walk the battlefields, a lot of the times it's a very peaceful feeling. It's very, you know, but there are people that maybe are less experienced that are kind of walking around. They're calling on things. They're trying to dabble. And I think that they're also bringing forth some things that maybe don't belong there, but are feeding off of the energies, the residual energies that are there, unfortunately. And so I do think that it's a possibility to kind of get some darker stuff. I think the scariest thing for me, though, our very first, I shouldn't say scary. It wasn't scary to me. It was just different. So we went to Samuel Miller Mansion for the My Haunted Manor project grand opening in Columbia, PA. And The basement, I had a warning dream from my grandmother about it before we went. And she kept very much pointing me to the dirt, and she just was like, hey, protect yourself. Just be careful. And so anytime my grandmother has come to me in a dream, it's always a warning, and it's usually when it's something a little bit more serious. So when we did our initial walkthrough, it was really spooky because the entity that I saw in the basement, I had initially said, it's kind of a creepy crawly. It's like a shapeshifter. Like, it's not like it I couldn't figure out what it was, and I don't like when I find entities that don't have they don't have a form. So if I can't pick up whether they are a human form or an inhuman form, I don't like being in a gray area because you're dabbling with something that you don't know what it is, and that can be very dangerous. And so I like to be very transparent, when we talk about these things on the podcast, because I think education's a really big thing. And when you don't know what you're dealing with, you can open up yourself to a lot of problems, and those problems could be resolved, very shortly. It's not a big deal. Get rid of it. But then there's some things that are like sticky goo, and they stick to the bottoms of your feet, and you will track it everywhere you go. And so what I didn't understand with Samuel Miller Mansion is, quite like Gettysburg, it had a lot of layers. And so our first initial trip there, something that had happened to me that was very odd was, I have seen ghosts my whole life. I have talked to spirits. I've always been very spiritual. But being in the basement, there was like, I went through what we believe was a woman who was murdered down there. And and I'm trying to figure out how to say this because so trigger warning for anybody listening. There was some SA that occurred. And what happened was, when we were kind of getting into picking up the initial feelings, when we kind of got into Estes method and we were doing all of the things down there, I began to uncontrollably cry, which is not like, I got very emotional when we first entered the town, which I thought was odd. Like, it was almost like word diarrhea. Like, I was just beside myself. Like, I was just venting, and I was like emotional, and then it kind of subsided. But when we got in that basement, it kind of made sense because I started uncontrollably crying, which was very odd because I have seen spirits, I've walked battlefields, like I've always had those experiences, but nothing that ever actually brought me to like physical sensations, like hear, see, touch, smell. Like, I was in it, so I could taste dirt in my mouth, and I could see my tears and my saliva like covering the dirt floor. And there was just, it was the worst feeling, and it like literally it felt like I got sucker punched in my stomach. Like, it was just so overwhelming to live what she went through that I was like, I just kept apologizing to our group because I felt so awkward that I physically couldn't stop all of these emotions that were just pouring out of me. And luckily, we kind of wrapped things up and we moved on from that spot shortly after because it was very overwhelming. But that was probably the most profound thing that's happened, because that was the first time that I ever lived something through we still haven't really figured out what it is. I just call it my psychic gift, like where I physically have experienced firsthand through the spirit's eyes what they went through. And I literally told them, I said, I think this is what happened because I experienced it like as if I was in her body. And it was terrifying.
It's kind of like going back in time, kind of like you're just living what they went through. You step into a situation.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that I've heard a lot about that. People had that experience. They felt very uncomfortable because it just brought them to where, like, some people like felt like they got stabbed and stuff like that, or shot. It was a very gruesome whatever happened to them, and they feel that same sensitivity of what they went through.
Yeah. It was odd. It was just a really odd feeling. And It definitely, the emotions were just very, very potent, and I was like, okay. And we did end up going back down there, and we had a very successful Estes method, which was really good because I think there was a lot that came out there that since the show has been kind of going on with My Haunted Manor, there have been tons of revelations that have really validated everything that we kind of experienced there. So I thought that that was really neat to kind of see, the things that I experienced, the things that we picked up in Estes. I mean, there was a lot of really profound revelations that came about this place. And I think it even goes deeper than our first initial sweep through. And we did go back. I mean, how many times have we been there, Taylor?
2 times.
2 times, right?
Not enough, though. I want to go back again.
It's one of those places where if you guys do like investigating, I highly recommend doing the VIP experience. Stay the whole night. Get as much as you can out of it. Trey, Jeff, and Daryl are really awesome. They will run it with Diamond State Ghost Investigators, DSGI, and it's just phenomenal. So I think if you guys want to see some really great physical and then also pick up some of that just emotional energy, it's got layers. It is a layer place. It's just, I think there's so much history there.
Now, for those not familiar like myself, the Estes method, what is that exactly?
So Estes method is basically a sensory deprivation tactic. So what you do is you cover your ears, you will run a spirit box through those headphones.
Mhm.
Don't get go ahead, Taylor, tell them the mistake that you made, because it's my favorite thing in the world.
Wait, I forgot. What was the mistake?
Your headphones.
Oh. Okay, listen. So I bought headphones, and I thought that when she said headphones, she just meant noise-canceling headphones. I didn't know I had to get ones that connected to the spirit box. So they didn't have Bluetooth or wires or anything.
She got straight up like NASCAR race, like
I blocked that out of my brain
just for some comical relief.
Oh man,
it's my
Sounds like
favorite
they
Taylor story. I love that because it was so funny. But yeah, you basically, so you'll put the headphones on, you put it through the spirit box, and the spirit box will run, but it should be loud enough that like when I put these headphones on, they already have background noise cancellation. So when I put then you put like a blindfold. I particularly like to use a weighted blindfold. So it has like those heavy like beans or something in it, because it sits on your eyes better. It doesn't allow any light through. So all you hear is the spirit box white noise. Your eyes are, so your sight, your hearing is all canceled out. So the only thing you should hear is white noise. And basically what it does is it puts you in a very meditative state. And the spirit box, you'll be able to hear a lot clearer the things that come through, but you won't be able to hear the questions that your group will ask. So someone will be on the outside asking questions, and you're not going to hear that or know what they're asking. But the theory is that what's coming through the spirit box should coincide with what they're asking. So I really like this method because I feel like we've gotten some really, really great responses. The only thing that I think everybody should kind of expect is it does take a couple of times doing it to really kind of get the hang of what you're hearing. There's times where you're going to hear something and you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just pay attention. Like I try and either have somebody recording it or taking notes about what's coming out, because what you say in the moment. So for instance, I had said something during my Ask This method where I said, excuse my language, but I said stop dicking around, because that's what came through. And I said that's a really odd, not periodically correct way to say something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't sitting right with me. Well, spirit very much came through. I was literally in the middle of a shower, and I had a man yell at me, "That's not what I said." And I was like, I knew that didn't sound right. And so I realized, I said, I think he's saying stop digging around. But if it was like a rap song that it pulled from the white noise, and So it came out with that word instead of digging. But when I said it out loud, like, go with your gut instinct. Make sure you read back kind of what you say, because certain words that get pulled, they will sound like something else. But you know what I'm saying? It's not the exact word. So just, it's kind of a mix of like common sense and then just really kind of practicing it and getting into that meditative state. But it's a really awesome investigation tool. It's probably one of my favorite methods.
Oh, I love it. But you do have to prepare yourself, though, because sometimes it can be humorous. Like when Morgan did it the first time at the manor, in between the seriousness, she kept hearing Genuine Pony playing, and we were cracking up because we were like, "Are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I just keep hearing Genuine Pony playing throughout, and I don't know why."
I was like, "You want it? Let's do it." And I'm like, "This is not investigative seriousness right now. Like I can't."
Man.
But yeah, it's fun.
That's awesome. When you were going through that situation back in the conversation, did you ever have like visions or anything like that afterwards that haunted you?
Yeah. I would say, like, I've been very in tune, and I don't really know why yet. Like, we just had a conversation about this, me and Taylor, as well as the guys from the manor, because I I have had tons of dreams about the manor since we've been there. I have had tons of, like, the way that I describe it is the way that my gift works is when I'm in a space, it's almost like information download. And most of the time, like 95% of the time, it's like a little stage in my brain. So, like, when you guys think of, I don't know, like if you're recalling like a scene in a movie, right? Like, you can see it in your head. I don't know how to explain that, but it's like if you think of something from like SpongeBob, you're like, you can see that little scene in
Like
your
a
head, and it's
playback.
almost like a little stage. And so that's how I see things a lot of the times. It's very vivid, and I get things. The download that I continue to get about the manor is crazy because there's a couple of entities there that I've really connected with, and I feel like they come through a lot and are kind of like, hey, we connected pretty heavily. Like, they keep kind of downloading to me. And so that's how I see a lot of stuff. And so I have had, little visions. I've had, just little downloads here and there, vivid dreams, spirits that have come to me and kind of said, hey, tell the boys this, like they need to be careful, or hey, they need to watch what they're doing with this. Or so, I'll let them know, like if something like that happens, like I had just updated Taylor on a bunch of stuff that I had dreamed about, and we're kind of still trying to unpack that, so I won't talk about it too much because I'm trying to make sense of it. But yeah, I mean, it comes up a lot, and it's funny that it's the manor because I mean I've been to other places, but there's a connection there for sure, and I'm not sure what it is yet.
There's definitely something with that manor because I'm not as clairvoyant as Morgan is, but I'm very empathic, and I keep telling her like at least once a week that like I've got this strong urge that I can't explain where I just keep wanting to go back to that basement. Like it's something about that basement where that's all I think about. And anytime I hear anything paranormal, I hear about the manor, like my brain is just like, you need to go back. Like there's something there that keeps pulling me back and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Wow. Fascinating. Do you guys have a favorite cryptid?
Yes.
Mine's Bigfoot.
Mine's Puckwudgies.
Puckwudgie. Yeah, we were talking about the Bridgewater Triangle earlier.
This is Flick.
Oh wait, I gotta get mine. I feel like it's only right that I get
Ghoulfriend,
mine.
our mascot, and then I got. Oh, I love it. Taylor,
so
what do you call? She calls I got her a
It's
got her a little Bigfoot and Jim, right?
I think Jim.
Oh,
he's got his little hat on.
Wait,
You
hold
got
on.
me,
Everybody hold up your stuffies. I'm gonna try and get a picture of
Jay's
us.
like, I don't have anything. He's left out.
Ready? Taylor, hold yours
Hold
up.
up your skull. You got the skull right there.
There you go.
I'll have to mail you a Bigfoot, Jay.
Josh, where's yours? You gotta hold yours up. Where's your Bigfoot?
Oh wait, hold on.
You got Bigfoot?
I got a couple of Bigfoots around. I got a lot of stuffed Bigfoot animal stuff everywhere.
I love it. I love that we all have our little things.
Our little besties.
It's that in Star Wars.
I love that.
Have you guys actually talked about cryptids? I want to go back into the paranormal here in a little bit, the time we have here. But have you ever had any experiences with cryptids or anything like that in your adventures?
I don't think so. I mean,
No, I
so
don't think
do
so.
you think, Taylor, do you think what was at the manor that you saw, do you think that could have been a Pukwudgie, like similar to what Trey saw?
I don't know, because the picture that Trey drew, that looked like what I felt like I was seeing in that corner. It was like I don't know. It was just very weird. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like,
Yeah.
whatever I was envisioning in that corner was like I guess it would be similar to a Pukwudgie, but I don't know. It's just one of those unexplainable things I don't know how to explain.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
weird.
I don't think I've had any like cryptid encounters, but I would love to. Like one that doesn't threaten my life, because I have heard some of these cryptid stories, and I'm like,
Come to Florida. It's all here.
yeah, I'm like, I don't, Dog Man and
Yep, we have that.
all of I'm like, yeah, I hear some of these stories. I'm part of like a Dog Man of is it a Dog Man of America's group? And then there's like a law enforcement Dog Man group. Just to kind of, I love reading all the stories and experiences, and I was like, holy cow, like some of these are really scary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to say hopefully not, but like in May, I'm supposed to go to. I know I'm supposed to go to Yosemite's National Park, and then there was another one I'm supposed to go to, and part of me is like hoping I don't see. What are the cryptids that they always have in the national parks? I forgot what they are. They like tell you not to pay attention to them, and I'm blanking right now. They say if you see them, you ignore them and you keep going. You're not supposed to pay attention to them. They usually
Is it
are
like the
up in the
tree
trees.
people?
Is it the SWs? I don't want to say it. The skin thingies.
The Winnies?
Oh,
Yeah,
I call them
I think it's
Winnies.
those. So I'm like, a part of me doesn't want to witness any of that when I go, and a part of me does, because I feel like I would be the one that would be like, my fiance would be like, "Don't turn around, like there's something there." I'll be like, "What?
Yeah.
Where?"
No, Taylor,
Like,
you would try and domesticate it. I could see
I
Taylor being
probably
like,
would.
but listen, I feel like I could talk to
Just
it.
give it a little treat.
And
Just
then
give it a
Patrick
treat.
would be like, and that's how Taylor got sucked into the forest void.
Yeah. Well, that's why I bring my handy dandy like spray bottle, and if it gets too close, I'll be like, back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Get off the table. Get off the table.
exactly. You just need a spray bottle, and you're good to go.
That's awesome. Well, actually, if talking about cryptid stuff in Florida, there has actually been sightings of a dinosaur up in the Everglades City area. What's that flying dinosaur? Is it a pterodactyl?
Pterodactyl.
Yeah, they said
That's
they
scary.
spotted a pterodactyl-like creature in the Everglades flying over the trees in the woods, because there's a lot of natives there. So there's been reports of flying pterodactyl dinosaurs flying around Everglades City area. It's pretty crazy stuff.
I don't know what's more terrifying, if like they were just gonna say like a velociraptor was spotted or a pterodactyl. Because pterodactyls are like pretty much like flying velociraptors. Like they could pretty much
Yeah.
swoop out of the sky and pick a human out.
Where do you go? Yeah, you can't really
Yeah,
run.
like I'm like, they have the gift of flight too.
Like, if you think about it, did every dinosaur actually die in that asteroid like impact?
How do
Like,
we prove that?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we got lava sharks right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's anything left behind.
And an anglerfish just came up from like
Yeah.
the depths.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Like that's wild to me.
It's you never know what it could be out there. You know, there's so much stuff out there that we haven't. Like, look at as a diver. Like, look at the megalodon teeth that keep showing up on the shores out of nowhere. You know, and they're not even fossilized. That's the thing. They're not even fossilized.
That's
And
terrifying.
they're like freshly like it just lost its tooth from the death of the ocean. So, and they said they've been spotted in Australia, Africa, all different places where they've like seen this big beast of a shark. So I think honestly they're still alive. You know, that's
Is it
why.
just Australia and Africa?
Huh?
Nowhere
He
near
says,
here.
is it just Australia or Africa? Because I'm like, if that's the case, I never want to go to either of those places.
I used to live in Australia. There's a lot of sharks there.
Australia has like the craziest animals. and
Yeah.
insects.
okay,
Like
I
it's
don't
like
wanna go there,
nothing is like a normal scale. They're like, oh yeah, we have ants, and you're like, okay, ants aren't too bad. Oh, but you haven't seen Australia's ants. They're like these ants
and
can
there's
fly, they can
spiders.
bite you, they make your body swell, and there is a possibility for death. And you're like,
Well, talking about spiders there in Australia, you know, they always say like, "Oh, worry about the big ones." It's not the big ones you have to worry about because I've seen a big spider on my wall when I lived in Australia, and it was like as big as a horse. But the spiders you gotta worry about there are the little tiny ones that you have to like knock your shoes every time you put your shoes on, your pillows, because these ones will actually send you in shock where you'll start foaming at the mouth, and people have actually died from them. So it's very that's what you got to worry about. Is the little one, not the big ones, but the little ones.
well, not that you guys asked about this, but my biggest, like, I have a legitimate animal fear. I hate hippos. Hippos terrify me. Like, my family makes fun of me. They brought me to the Camden Aquarium, and apparently there's like a hippo exhibit. They made me walk through it. And when I tell you, I was like eye level with a hippo, and I almost threw up and pooped my pants at the same time. I have seen, like, people don't understand the hype, and I can tell you, I have turned at least 6 or 7 people proudly into hippo haters because I made them watch this video. It was like how to survive a hippo attack, and it says you pretty much don't.
Yeah,
They're
they will hunt
impressive.
you and not eat you. That's one of they're very territorial and yeah.
Dude, they're I don't know. Like I always see those videos where they put a watermelon in a hippo's mouth.
They just
they chomp it.
Chomps it and it like just in a little million pieces. Like just imagine your head.
Touch your head. Well, okay, so if you guys have never heard this story, another one that I love to share with people, he is like a miracle. His name is Paul Templar. He was an African safari, like a lead like tour guide, and he used to do tours down the Zambezi River, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
And so a guard hippo for my yard. You don't want that because like they don't there's no domesticating them and they show no loyalty. I just want you to know that there's no loyalty with hippos. So if you walk out in your yard, you're fair game. I would stick with like an alligator or something. I've seen people put leashes on an alligator.
Get the spray bottle, you'll be fine, Morgan.
No,
spray bottle.
But Paul Templar that's a wild story. He was literally like he was thrown up into the air off of one of these Zambezi kayak canoe type things that they were in with a group. Like he had a tour group, and apparently there was these super like I don't know if they were in heat or what was going on, but they're already territorial, but there was like babies and stuff. And they had set up like camp in this part of the Zambezi River. And he was thrown into the air. I think it was like 50 feet or something and landed in the hippo's mouth and was partially like eaten, but he survived. He survived an entire hippo attack, and with his tour guides just being super handy with like first aid, they said you could literally look through him and see his lungs and everything because he had from the tusks or whatever, and they patched him up with the saran wrap from the charcuterie board that was on the canoe.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like when I tell you have to hear the story, there's a podcast that they have the whole story from him. They interviewed him, and I show this to everybody that I know because I'm like, if you don't hate hippos now, I'm gonna make you a believer on why we don't mess with them.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need a hug.
Or a spray bottle.
Or a tranquilizer dart.
Go. Actually, we do have a few minutes left. I want to ask you this question, going back into the paranormal.
Yeah.
I've been actually battling this question a lot with a lot of people because a lot of times we look at, paranormal as spirits and stuff and then spirit realm. I want to ask you this question. What's your thoughts about this? Because I think it's pretty interesting theory that a lot of people are looking into it, where it's not the paranormal we're looking into. We're looking into another realm where it's another like a veil where there's people on the other side, and where like ghosts is to them, and where ghosts, vice versa. What's your thoughts about that?
I think we talked about that, Morgan, didn't we? Where we had that theory ourselves.
Yeah, like kind of like parallel universes.
Yeah.
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 You see in the movies, like there's a universe within a universe.
Yeah, I mean, so the way that I see things, and this may not be like a very specific answer, but personally, like I believe that the planes of existence really come down to your belief system. Like
Yeah.
I think that like what you believe kind of is its own plane. And
Yeah.
as we all know, and I think we've all been taught, and I think we're kind of almost coming down to like a concrete, like this is going to be like a concrete theory, is that energy can never be destroyed, only transferred. So if we are energy, we pass away, whatever happens, that has to go somewhere. Where that goes, I think, is really dependent on your belief system, where you go. And I do think that there probably is, there's definitely a veil. There's definitely things that separate where
Yeah.
you go in these parallel planes or whatever, you want to refer to them as. But I do think it really comes down to your hopes, your beliefs, like how you've lived, the things that you kind of like, hey, I envision heaven, or I envision like kind of not like, I don't want to say purgatory, because when people hear purgatory, they think of a bad thing, but they like purgatory could be a plane where it's just where you're undecided and you kind of just live there for a little while. And then,
Yeah.
but then there also could be that belief system of like, hey, we go somewhere, we go to a different life or a different plane, and then we live a whole new life there. So I think it really just comes down to, I like to leave it open and kind of keep it open-minded. It really comes down to what you believe. And until we really have evidence to kind of support that there's these planes and whatnot, that's just what I continue to believe, because I haven't seen anything that's really concrete on, you know, it's just this world, a veil, and then the next, and then there's
Yeah.
just something else there. But Taylor, what do you think?
No, I pretty much have the similar feelings. I honestly, at this point in my life, especially with everything that's been going on in the world, I have such an open mind to things where I could see it being different planes. I could see it being like, I really honestly like the whole theory of like we're living on one plane, and then those energies that we feel and see are actually other people or entities, or we call them spirits and entities. They're another species or another set of humans living on their own plane. Honestly, I think that would be pretty cool.
It would be cool.
It would.
Yeah, because I mean, when things like where I've had that thought process is like when you go to like a haunted location, right? We kind of refer to it as residual energy. Residual hauntings. They're kind of stuck in this, like you'll see like dishes move, or you'll see them kind of walking a corridor and going into a room and kind of doing like very repetitive motions. And I'm like, could it be like a little glitch in the veil where they're just living their lives and we can see into that? That's a very awesome theory, and it could be very true, but I just personally haven't seen enough thesis on that. I haven't seen enough evidence, like enough to kind of support myself to kind of believe that. So like I have a little bit of a different belief system, but I keep my mind open to the fact that that could be a very real possibility, because there's just so much out there that I don't think we know about.
Wow,
Or have concrete answers on.
That's crazy. That's definitely. Also, another thing, like I want to get into, but not tonight because we got not much time left. But reincarnation is definitely
I love
another
reincarnation.
topic I want to get into, but in another show. But
Yeah.
thank you so much, guys. I know, like I could talk for a long time with you guys. This has been a fun show, and
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, we had fun.
it's
Thank you.
been really good. A lot of amazing information, and definitely, can you share like with people where they could find you and when your show is gonna pop up?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are testing out every other Thursday, from about 6:45, 7 o'clock to about 8:30, and we go live on I almost said FaceTube, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. And you really can find us just by searching up the Ghoulfriend Hour. If you ever want to submit listener stories, or you just want to reach out to us, we're the ones that are answering our inbox. It's the Ghoulfriend Hour pod at gmail.com. And yeah, so I always suggest people go to our Instagram. It's kind of a pain, but it's _Ghoulfriend_hour_ because Instagram was making my life really difficult. But go there and there's a link tree, and that'll make your life easy peasy because you can just click on that and it should have everything all in one place. And we have a website, is that enough W's? theghoulfriendhourpodcast.com. And you can find also everything there, our interviews, our collaborations, our merch, all the above, But yeah.
Oh yeah. Is there anything you want to say, Jay, before we head out?
Not much. I do love the whole parallel dimension, nearby neighborhood dimension, how things can kind of slip in and slip out. I've always thought that really kind of can explain a lot that we can't explain. Not that it's the correct or proper theory, but I think that's a great theory, and I think it's one that needs more attention, and one that I think would be great to have you guys back on to talk about a little bit more at some point.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us so much. This has been an amazing show. And everybody who's been watching the Animal Expedition Files, please go check out the Ghoulfriend Hour podcast. You don't want to miss out. And thank you for watching us at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be back Wednesday with my other co-host, Jessica. And we're going to be having some Bigfoot talk there, but you don't want to miss out. But
Jessica,
thank you.
from Cryptid Bits with General Tidbits?
Yep.
Okay.
Heck yeah, man. Awesome, brother. But thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We'll talk to you in the back room after these brief messages. Check it out.
Lights on. Dark Realm TV. Coming soon.